I was lucky enough to be sent a C64 Mini for review, so let's take a look. First of all, look at that packaging. Look at that, lovely outer box, bit of spot UV glossing on there. Very nice. The C64 Mini is a all-in-one emulator console. Inside the box we've got the C64 Mini itself, the included USB joystick, a couple of cables and a manual. The C64 Mini is not made by the same company, but it is made by the same people who were behind the original Sinclair Spectrum Vega. And you can see that they've taken a few things on board. The Vega wasn't a perfect device. I didn't really like it, and this is a vast improvement. I feel like this is a better, more well-realized product. This time around, the unit's got USB inputs and it's got HDMI out at 720p upscaled. I gotta say, the thing looks the part. It looks really nice. I do like the form factor, I like the size. I suppose you might be wondering if the keyboard works. It doesn't, it's entirely cosmetic. I mean, look at the size of it. I couldn't, even if it was working, you couldn't type on this thing. The joystick looks the part as well. People will probably ask, does it have micro switches? No, not at this price. You're never going to get that. It just looks really nice under the telly there, doesn't it? Right, let's boot it up and let's get playing some games. The 64 included games, I think, are really well cultured. It shows off the C64 library really well. There's definitely some kind of core C64 titles that are missing, but apparently this is now just down to the fact that nobody knows who owns the rights to a lot of these games, and either that or they're now owned by companies who just aren't willing to part with the rights for them for a device like this. If there's a game that you particularly want to be playing on the C64 Mini and it isn't on the inbuilt library, they did include a way to load your own ROMs. You go into Basic and you load it up as if you were loading from a tape. You can put one ROM on there and load it individually. They have said that they're going to update the firmware in future and it will have a proper ROM loader, but for now, one at a time is the best they can do. Of the games that are on there, they load up really quick and they are good fun to play for the most part. I chose some of the games and I thought, you know what, I'll run the gamut and really show kind of the strengths and the weaknesses of the thing. Now, I love Chip's Challenge anyway, but this is perfect because it's nice, kind of chilled out, relaxed. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to load up Uridium because I remember that being a really, really fast game. I'm thinking we'll see some screen tearing, but no, look at that. It's flawless. Like, that's a solid emulation. All of the games have 4 save state slots, which is actually really good for games like this. It does help out. None of these games are particularly easy, so I like that. It's good. I will say there are some games on here that are really hard. In all fairness, these are pretty much perfectly emulated, so it's not really the game's fault, is it? It's probably me. But with that said, I don't like the joystick, and that is, I think, entirely subjective. This isn't me having a go at them because this is a pretty much perfect copy of an 80s joystick. I just didn't like using it because it's not what I'm used to. And I would say, well, this is annoying because it would be better if I could just use an Xbox pad. None of the USB pads I tried plugging into the C64 Mini worked. I tried a official Xbox 360 pad, I tried the Xeox pad, I tried our EasySMX USB controller, and I tried the good old trusty NES pad from Retro Fighters, none of which were recognised, none of which worked. On the flip side, the C64 Mini joystick does work on my PC. I plugged it in, it was instantly recognised, and it worked straight away. If you want to be running old 8-bit emulators on your computer, then that's included in the package. That's actually pretty cool when you think about it. Pros and cons. It's got HDMI out, it's got 2 USB ports in, it's got 64 pretty good games built in, and you can expand it with your own games. Cons would be, I don't know, maybe it could do with a couple more USB ports, so you could have keyboard, couple of controllers and the USB stick plugged in, I guess. Support for generic USB controllers. That would be the one thing that I would change about it. Again, I know this is subjective, but for me, it would be really good if I could plug like an Xbox controller into it. That would make it perfect. There's not much more you could want from something like this, right? I love little things like this, man. You know, little gadgets, microcomputers. Absolutely wicked. I've got more on the channel, so if you want to see that, then click on them here. And if you like old computers and old retro gaming, subscribe to the game show. Go on.